This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. It is indeed another edition of Quality Hang, live after Warriors Rockets Game 4. Warriors take a commanding 3-1 lead in that series. But before we get started, a couple of pieces of business. As always, I'm joined on this broadcasting adventure by my partner in crime. He is Marcus Osborne. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
What's up, baby? Good to see you.
Good to be seen. And as always, Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and Friends is sponsored by Hop Monk Taverns. Make sure you check them out in Sonoma, Sebastopol, or Novato. Grab a beer, grab a meal, catch a show. Either way, you're good at Hop Monk. They have you covered. Check them out at hopmonk.com. As I mentioned, the Warriors take a commanding 3-1 lead over the Rockets in their best of 7 first-round series. 109-106, the Warriors just defeating the Rockets. A game that had a little bit of everything. Once you got, though, Marcus, past the nonsense, past the testosterone presentations by both teams, you actually got some good basketball in the second half.
Yeah, thank God. It was just, for a while, it was just ugly. I know everybody likes the physicality and all that stuff, which I actually do enjoy as well, but some of these fouls and just the parade to the free throw line is just unwatchable. It's not aesthetically pleasing. Like, the reason that we accept it in games like this is because of the stakes. But like, if this is just a regular season game, I would want to throw up. This was terrible.
Well, what you had, though, is you had the Rockets trying to drag this game in the mud, and in the first half, the Warriors allowing themselves to be dragged in the mud. You had the technicals, with Steph and Draymond. I should say Steph, and Draymond and Dylan Brooks, and then you had where it really started to get goofy with the Draymond flagrant one with about 2 minutes left, and people wondering, well, when Draymond already had a technical, then he got a flagrant one. Shouldn't he have been kicked out? No, that was adjudicated correctly. Yeah. But the overarching point is that in the first half, the Warriors got off to a 13-2 start, and then the Rockets said, okay, there's no way we're going to be able to handle that. So what they eventually did was they went to that double big lineup where they got Steven Adams out there. They went to that zone, but then they went to what – and I think now that we've had enough basketball played, you could clearly see that the Rockets are an inferior opponent, mainly due to the fact that the Rockets simply, over the course of a 48-minute basketball game, cannot shoot. They cannot shoot from the field. They cannot make their free throws. And they know that. It's been their way all season long. Out of the 16 playoff teams, the Rockets are dead last out of the 16 in shooting from the floor. So the Rockets are the inferior team. They know that they're the inferior team. Now, they can play defense. They can rebound. They can get out and run. They can get second chance points. They can turn you over. And they did all those things to the Warriors, and they've done them at a bunch of times over the course of this series. But when it gets down to playing today's basketball, even in the playoffs where you have to shoot, Rockets can't do that. So they know they can't do that. So they have to play the game their way at their pace. They did that in the second half, and the Warriors fell victim to it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give the Rockets a lot of credit. I mean, if I were them, I'd be pissed off just because I'm the 2 seed and I'm the underdogs to a 7 seed. But I mean, not really separate. You're only separated by 4 games, so it's not shocking that the Warriors were chosen to be the favorites in this particular series. Plus, at the end of the season, the Warriors had the number 1 defense since Jimmy Butler got there, so you knew it was going to be kind of a slugfest. Mm-hmm. I think what I and many of the people who watched the game underestimated was the physicality of the Warriors. Like, we knew Houston could bring it. Would the Warriors be tough enough to be able to stand up to it and hang in there until you get to guys like Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry to close the game out for you? Yeah. Because, I mean, we talk about this all the time. NBA playoffs, it always comes down to who has the best player and who's going to play that defense. And if you can get it to the end of the game when you got a couple of guys like Curry and Butler closing it out for you, you got a good shot, particularly with this defense.
Absolutely.
Let me add one more thing, Rod. I think we got to talk about Fred VanVleet.
Warrior fans, I mean, listen.
Curry fans, right?
That dude, for Warrior fans, you see him in your nightmares. Now, Fred VanVleet overall did not hurt the Warriors tonight with his 25 points. But if it weren't for Fred VanVleet, which is a really hard name to say at 10 o'clock at night, but if it weren't for Fred VanVleet and his 3-point shooting,
Woo.
this game would not be as close as it eventually was, being 109-106, the Warriors getting the win and getting that 3-1 series lead.
Yep.
Fred VanVleet, who stunk up the joint, definitely in game 1. Wasn't really all that great in game 2. You saw him start to come around in game 3. But Fred VanVleet tonight is the one that Warrior fans remember from Warriors Raptors in the finals a few years ago.
Yeah. They also got punished by Şengün, particularly when they pulled Draymond out with the foul trouble. When Draymond had 5 fouls, I think everybody in the building knew, oh, well, every single time down the court, he's going to get the ball, and there's nothing anybody in the Warriors can do to stop that dude.
Yeah.
Nothing.
If I'm not mistaken, Alperen Şengün had, what was it, only 2 points at the half. I'd have to look it up to be sure. He finished with 31. And Parkers, your point is absolutely right. And this is the thing about the Warriors getting pulled into, a testosterone presentation. And Draymond, I mean, how many times have we talked about it? He has a hard time keeping his cool, but he eventually paid dividends, and we'll get to that in just a second. But with Draymond having to cool it because of the foul trouble, the Rockets rightfully went to Şengün, and he absolutely ate them up. And this is something that we knew was going to be a problem for the Warriors, their inability to handle skilled players on the inside. But this is where the folks who say Steve Kerr can't coach, this is where you end up looking stupid, because at the end of the game, near the end of the game, they started fouling Steven Adams, a hack-a-shack strategy. Rockets had to pull Steven Adams out, which, of course, with him being as good of an offensive rebounder as he is, that's a feather in the Warriors' cap. Draymond eventually had to come in, and all Draymond had to do was play, about 3 good minutes of defense, don't get yourself fouled out. Well, one of the last shots of the game that Şengün tried to take, who was guarding him? Draymond Green, playing absolutely airtight, great defense. That's where the game was won in that regard. Getting Steven Adams off the floor, having Draymond, Steve Kerr, having him in his hip pocket to use at the absolute right time, and he did, and it paid dividends.
Yeah, that is exactly where it came down to. Şengün was having his way with everybody on that court. I mean, they brought TJD in there.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a simple thing when you sit and you watch it from the outside. You know for a fact, Şengün gets that ball, anything below the free throw line, he's murdering you, and nobody could keep him from getting deep in the paint. So Draymond is undersized, particularly compared to bigger guys like Looney and TJD, but he's got good weight on him, and he knows how to position himself to at least keep Şengün from getting to his spot and getting comfortable. And then you saw the shots that he was missing were just in front of the rim.
Just in front.
In front of the rim. And that is the mark of a great defensive player. Şengün is great. I mean, the kid is only 22. He's going to be amazing.
Rockets have 48 points in the paint. If Rockets have 50 points in the paint, they probably win this game.
Yeah, man.
And the series is not 2-2 going back to Houston for game 5.
Yeah. These are very evenly matched teams. I mean, and all year long, even before Jimmy Butler got there, the Warriors and the Rockets were playing tight games. And the Warriors had beaten them, like 3 years in a row or something crazy like that?
Feels like it, yeah.
Yeah, it had been something like that. And then they got that first win, and that was a comeback win too. So it was really, I mean, you knew this was going to be a tight series. I expected to go 6. I'm not going to run away from that, even though it's 3, because we can go right back to Houston and then they can get knocked off. So for the Warriors, it's a very good night, a lucky night, but you do need a bit of luck to win these things.
One of the big points, or one of the big issues I thought for this series before it started would be who for the Warriors would be the person or the group of guys that would give them the third scoring punch, if you will, after Steph. Well, Steph had a fairly pedestrian night, and Again, I think that's almost exclusively to the Rockets defense. Steph,
Mhm.
17 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 2 of 8 from behind the 3-point line.
Right.
Buddy Hield, it was the full Buddy Hield experience. It was dicey at times. A
Buddy
couple of
gonna buddy.
times, it was like, thank you, God, for making those shots. But Buddy Hield, 3 of 9 from behind the money line, but he was 6 of 15 overall for 15 points. But two guys in particular, and I'll start with Podziemski. Brandon Podziemski absolutely was money for the Warriors tonight. 26 points, 6 of 11 from 3. And those 26 points, I mean, it's not necessarily found money, because Podziemski, when right, has been right for the Warriors all year long.
Sure.
But when you, on a night where Steph is off because of Rockets defense, and you really weren't getting a lot out of Jimmy Butler in the first half, and I'll get to him in just a second, for Brandon Podziemski to be as solid as he was for the entirety of the game with those 26 points and only a couple of turnovers and 5 assists, that was a massive, massive game for him.
Bro, you mean he was the Warriors version of Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
He single-handedly kept the war, big shot after big shot after big shot for Brandon Podziemski. The thing about Pods is people were giving him a real hard time at the beginning of the year. I think that, and again, this is me playing psychologist, I don't know, but my gut tells me that he was pressing at the beginning of the year.
100%.
Trying to live up to all of his own hype and the expectations. Just go out there, play your game, you'll be fine. For all the nonsense about Steve Kerr can't coach, et cetera, you see why he's got Pods in there. You see why he's got Quentin Post in there. And it surely isn't a thing against young players. And it surely isn't a thing about not being able to develop players, because both these guys are young guys. Both are in because they've earned their way onto the court.
Mm-hmm. Just to clean up something I said before, Şengün had 10 points in the first half. He eventually finished with 31, so it wasn't 2, but it wasn't a whole hell of a lot. Back to the point that we were both making, that Şengün was able to do the bulk of his damage once Draymond helped get himself off the floor. But the other guy we're going to get to, hey, man, Jimmy Butler, yo, kudos, man. Tip of the cap to that fella, because you could see that Jimmy Butler was compromised. He really didn't have lift all game long. I think he got stronger as the game went on. But at the beginning of the game, he had absolutely no lift at all. And, he was just out there, just, not necessarily on vibes alone, but Jimmy Butler was out there, just going out there on adrenaline and guts. And then all of a sudden, the BS started, and he and Dillon Brooks started jaw-jacking at each other. And that's what got Jimmy Butler going. And from that point, Jimmy Butler's like, all right, y'all done messed up. And I think we're going to get to a point now, if we haven't already, the team's going to realize, leave that man alone. Leave that man alone. Because once you stir him up, if he needs to be stirred up, it's a wrap for you.
His game is so fundamental.
Yes, very much so.
So fundamental. There's not flashy. It's just efficient and effective. He doesn't turn it over. He takes high efficiency shots. He's actually not a bad 3-point shooter. He doesn't take many. Mm-hmm. So I wonder how many he'd make if he took more. But I think on this team, he's exactly what they needed. And I was a skeptic from the very beginning. But he's turned out to be exactly what they needed, because they give this offense another dimension. It gives them a change of pace. It kind of removes the idea that, we have to shoot, 42% from 3 in order to win a game. No, you could just throw the ball down to Jimmy in the post and let him go to work. He'll find somebody, or he'll make a shot and get a foul for you. And you don't realize how great an accessory that is until you don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily for the Warriors, he only had to miss one game, and here we are, baby. Here we are.
Jimmy Butler had 4 points in the first half.
Yeah.
He finished with 27.
Whoa. Whoa. Wow.
That's impressive. That is absolutely impressive.
Bobby's turn tonight, I guess.
And listen, and the Warriors, not that they were ever in danger of getting run out of the gym, and that is because the Rockets are they can't shoot. They don't have the 3-point firepower to to really make it hurt when they're turning you over, as they were doing
Yeah.
to the Warriors in the first half. They don't have the three-point shooting, the Rockets, to make it really hurt when they're getting points in the paint, and then they could play inside out if they choose to. They just don't have the three-point shooting to do that. They don't have the three-point shooting to really make it hurt when they're beating you on the boards, offensive rebounds and defensive rebounds. They just and not having three-point shooting and just not having a little bit to rely on, with the exception of Fred VanVleet, being 2019 NBA Finals version of Fred VanVleet. If you don't have three-point shooting in today's game, I don't care how good you are in those other disciplines. And the Rockets are really, really, really good at those other very important disciplines of rebounding and defense and turning teams over and having athleticism. But if you can't shoot, it's hard to beat skilled teams. And the Warriors are a skilled team with flaws. Okay. Yeah. They're undersized, for lack of a better way of putting it. Point of attack defense can be a problem. But they have shooting, and they have shooting all over the floor. And even when the Rockets had the Warriors in a position to where Steph wasn't on the floor in the first half or at times in the second half, and Jimmy Butler hadn't really woken up yet, or Podziemski wasn't on the floor, they still could not find a way to make the Warriors really pay for not having shooters on the floor because of rotations and guys having to sit because, well, you don't want to pull a JJ Redick and start running guys out there for 46 minutes in a game. Maybe we'll get to that as the show goes on. But the Rockets just couldn't make them pay with that. If you cannot shoot in today's game, that's a problem. That's the Rockets' problem.
I really like the way this team is made up. Maybe not even just a shooter, just like one reliable bucket getter.
I mean, their idea is that it's Jalen Green, and Jalen Green was an absolute zero tonight.
Yeah, he's kind of a number two.
Yeah.
Number two.
Yeah. I mean, Sengun was the all-star. Jalen Green is the guy you look at. It's like, that's the talent. But to me, the Rockets were much better when Tari Eason and Jabari Smith were on the floor.
Everybody was in foul trouble tonight.
Yeah. But the thing with Jalen Green is that, what did he have? 7 points in the previous game, 8 points tonight. It's not there for the young fella yet. And obviously this is his first go round in the playoffs. But more to your point, Marcus, is that he's supposed to be the guy that's the bucket getter. Yep. He's supposed to be the maybe not the number one, because that would be Sengun being their all-star for just sort of using that metric, but he ain't that bucket getter. Yep. And they don't have the shooting. Like I said, it was Fred VanVleet. That was their shooting.
Yeah, dude.
You're not gonna win any series, especially beating a team like the Warriors, if that's all you got from distance.
Yeah, this is what I mean when I see guys who are strictly just scorers. I feel like the guys who are just scores, if they're not doing that, they give you nothing else. And I feel like Jalen Green is rolling into that territory. If you're not scoring, what are you giving me?
Yeah, because he's not necessarily, throwing defensive clamps on guys.
Defense, he can rebound, but he's not a dominant rebounder. I mean, he's the same problem that a guy like Luka has. Yeah. Like, if you're not scoring, what are you doing for me? And so this is what makes me feel like, okay, he will eventually be a number two. The Rockets might have to give up a young asset or two in order to get somebody who can be that bucket getter. And I keep hearing Kevin Durant. If Kevin Durant is on this team, you're looking at likely a title team.
Yeah, but that's next year. Yeah. Right now, the Rockets are staring down the barrel of a 3-1 deficit. Yeah. And listen, what is it? When you win game 3, you win as best of 7 series almost 70%, if almost 75% of the time, between 70 and 75%. 3-1 series leads, Warrior fans, you know how rare it is to give those up, but they can be given up. I have a hard time seeing the Warriors blowing a 3-1 lead to a Rockets team who, as I said, I don't think it's going to be 1-2-3 Cancun like we saw out of the Miami Heat tonight, or like we saw out of the Memphis Grizzlies a couple of nights ago. Because the Rockets have more talent and more fight than both of those two teams combined. But with how the Warriors are playing, and the problems the Rockets have shooting wise from the floor and from the fact that they can't make free throws is mind bending to me.
Nice.
But they were the worst free throw shooting team, the Rockets, in all of the regular season last year.
Wow.
30th out of 30 in a league where the Washington Wizards play. And the Rockets were a worse free throw shooting team than the Wizards, for God's sakes.
Don't forget how bad the Golden State Warriors were before Jimmy Butler's got there.
No, you're right. You're 100% correct. You're 100% to be worse than the Warriors were before Butler got here, and they were pretty bad at it. It's the Rockets, like I said, they're not going to roll over and show soft white underbelly, you know, Wednesday night in Houston being down 3-1, but them coming back and forcing a game 7, game 6, maybe. Game 7, nah. Simply due to the fact they just can't shoot.
Yeah, man. It's just, I mean, it really does come down to it. The NBA is a league that is so dominated by big time stars, and to not have it at this level is just going to kill you. It's just going to kill you. This was a very winnable game for the Rockets.
You know, and it's
right there to be had.
I think they've all been winnable for the Rockets.
Yeah.
And think about how you win games. Big shots and making your free throws. They do everything else except the most important thing, which is get the basketball and get it in the basket. They rebound the hell out of it. They defend so they can get the ball back. They slow the game down when they need to. You might not like how they go about doing it, but the Rockets slow the game down. They do everything you need to do.
Shout out to the coaches.
That one last little thing.
Yeah, shout out.
Put it in the basket.
You get 52 wins. Shout out to the coaches.
Yeah, sure.
They win because they get more possessions than you.
Yeah,
and that's just them wearing you down with more. We're just going to get more possessions. You might be more skilled, but we're going to get more possessions.
Always love it when folks get in the chat and get active. The quality hangers, as they're calling themselves. We absolutely love it. Oliver Calcroft says Steph won't shoot that bad 2 games in a row. He's going to light them up next game. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Especially in Houston, Steph really loves to G off at Toyota Center. So, yeah, he's definitely going to give it a shot. And if Steph puts his mind to it and he gives it a shot, chances are you're in trouble.
And listen, I would even go so far as say, like, I wouldn't even say it's just a bad shooting night for Steph. I think the idea that they held it to 12 shots, 13 shots?
13.
Yeah.
That's good Rockets defense. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
You're doing what you decided to do. We're not going to let that guy get 20 shots.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you cannot argue with that game plan. What the risk they take is what happens with everybody else.
Yeah.
Will Pods have another night like that? Will Hield have another night like that? I mean, anything is possible, but it's also entirely possible that they go ice cold.
Yeah, and it's been said, and it's said because I think there's a good amount of truth to it. In the playoffs, role players, you could fairly call Podziemski and Buddy Hield role players. Role players perform much better at home than they do on the road. But I think if you're looking at Podziemski, this is a dude with full confidence right now. He has confidence in himself, because the team has confidence in him. And what was proven tonight was, okay, they top blocking Steph, they making life difficult for Steph. You gonna get all you can eat, Brandon Podziemski.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do about it? And he did something about it. So I'm not saying that he's going to take those 26 points and that's going to transfer immediately to game 5 in Houston. But I do think that there is a lot of, hey, man, probably the Warriors, the Rockets are going to attempt the same thing again.
Yeah.
Because they feel like if we limit Steph Curry to 13 shots, we should win that basketball game. So if we can limit him to 13 and 15 shots in game 5 in Houston, that's great. If Podziemski beats us, then you know what? You tip your hat to him and you keep it moving. But they will absolutely employ the exact same strategy. Is Podziemski going to make, knock those down enough? Like I said, 26, I don't know about that, but is he going to knock those down enough of those to really make it hurt the Rockets? And again, we got the full Buddy Hield experience tonight. But 6 of 15, 3 of 9 you don't like, and you really like for him to go to the free throw line. But 6 of 15, from Buddy Hield for 15 points. Hey, man, you absolutely take that.
You take it. I mean, double figure scoring from Pods, Hield, Steph, anybody else? Well, obviously.
Quentin Post, 13.
Post. Listen, I saw him. One of my issues with Quentin Post is he's a brutal defender in the post, and he doesn't have a post game of his own.
Ironic.
And I have been just going. I just wish this dude would be. He's a 7-footer. Be aggressive in that paint. Like, stop trying to lay the ball in. Stop trying to have a soft touch. He went in. He tried to crush somebody tonight.
Yo.
He tried to crush somebody, and I went.
He did try to catch a body tonight.
And
you know what?
He played.
He actually looked athletic doing it. There was nothing weird or gangly about it. He had bad intentions,
yes,
and almost pulled it off. Yeah.
And the good thing is that they either stop you or you get a foul.
Or you get a foul,
and you got the foul. Play like that.
Yeah,
I think it's one of my pet peeves with 7-footers in today's game. Is so many of them they're too skilled. Like, just dunk it. Don't try to kiss it off the ground. Just dunk it. What are we doing here?
Matt Jennings in the chat. What would you put the odds that Dillon Brooks goes full goon mode and plays super reckless if the Dubs get out to a sizable lead at some point in Game 5? That dude is messy. Man, I really hope he's not that type of dude. The extra stuff he does, for all intents and purposes, is harmless. There was one situation in Game 1 or Game 2 I didn't like, where he kind of got tangled up with Steph and
tried to hit his hand,
ankles and stuff. Like, I thought that was sucker shit.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part he's harmless. Boy. Because I don't really will come out and say, like, yeah, he's going to do something stupid, because I don't know.
I certainly hope not. Well,
I certainly hope not as well. But we are talking about Dillon Brooks.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he doesn't necessarily deserve. Maybe he hasn't earned that, Dillon Brooks. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that while he is a world-class agitator, he's not a dirty player. He gets to that line, but I don't think he goes out there trying to hurt people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I try to give these. I always try to give the players the benefit of the doubt, but I also feel like there's certain cats who play reckless.
Yeah,
who play reckless and in the moment aren't thinking. And I think
wait, who are we talking about? Dillon Brooks or Draymond Green?
Guys like them. Whether just in general, I think like a guy like Isaiah Stewart, like these guys. I don't think they're intentionally going out there to hurt people, but I do think they get. Well, actually, I think Isaiah Stewart does try to hurt people, but that's a whole other thing.
There's something wrong with that boy.
Yeah, dude.
Isaiah's he's a little.
I think so. He's such an old school type of. Listen, we just gonna bring you in to just go hurt some people, bro.
you have no appreciable skill on the basketball court, so we send you out there to start some nonsense. That's what we're gonna do for you.
Like, I don't know how you feel about it, but I as I said earlier, I'm just sitting here watching the game. I was just sitting there thinking, because I'm trying to get into more Twitter beefs and
something to aspire to in the year 2025 of our Lord.
Just to get the juices flowing. But I got into it with a few people today because everybody's going, "Oh, this is great ball." I'm like, "No, this shit is not great." Like, if these weren't playoff games, you would be whining and crying about how terrible this is to watch. Because I remember those 82-79 games. I hated it. I didn't like a parade to the free throw line. I didn't like all that goonery stuff. I like watching the skill. Do I love seeing people just chuck up threes? No, I don't like that either. But at the very least, I'm not watching like these low scoring. Let me learn the name of the refs, but by the time I end this game type of stuff, just stop it.
Well, man. But like I said earlier, once the bullshit ceased in the first half, the quality of basketball we saw tonight at Oracle was much better.
Yes.
Once we got to the third quarter,
Yeah.
And like I said, the Rockets' whole point, once they knew when the Warriors got off to that 13-2 start, Rockets called timeout, and they were like, "All right, now we got to start playing our way." And that's then when the Warriors went 1-9 from the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the Warriors started to turn up. That's when the Rockets started to turn up the heat on them defensively, and also Van Vliet, being their only threat from the outside. And then, the Warriors started 5 of 8 from the field to start the game. Rockets called timeout. Rockets went big. Rockets went zone. Warriors went from 5 of 8 from the field, 5 of 22. Then that's when you got the nonsense. That's when you got the Steph and Draymond and Dillon Brooks technical fouls. We can argue who should have got the foul, but that was the Rockets playing the game the way they wanted to defensively, and then having the intensity of the game be played the way they wanted to, which was chippy and snippy, and getting the Warriors, the more skilled team, especially from shooting, if not exclusively from a shooting standpoint, to get the more skilled team, the Warriors, off of their balance point, off of their axis. And then the Rockets kept doing it to the point where, like I said, you had the Draymond, flagrant one. And then the Rockets ended up going from being down 13-2 to start the game, getting the Warriors to shoot 5 of 22 after starting 5 of 8 for the Rockets. Then the Rockets ended up at the half being up 57-50. That was Houston Rockets basketball. But once we got to the second half and the nonsense stopped for whatever reason, whether the game was officiated better or whether the Warriors adjusted to it and stopped, had some speak at halftime amongst themselves and saying, hey, man, we can't get caught up in what the Rockets are doing. Then the Warriors started to play their game. And with the Rockets still, of course, being the team that's bigger, more physical, the better rebounding team, but they can't shoot. So once the game was actually played normally in the second half compared to the first, the quality of basketball was better.
I mean, if you just look at the team stats, it's strictly the team stats, the Rockets should have easily won this game. The Rockets are 49% from the floor. The Warriors are 41%. The Rockets 47% from three. The Warriors 37. 41 rebounds to 34. 18 assists to 27. Warriors got the numbers there. 6 steals to 7 steals. 6 blocks to 2 blocks. 48 points in the paint. The Warriors had 28 turnover points, 13 to 10. The Warriors had 20 turnovers. The Rockets had 11, and the fouls are fairly even. Even the free throws made, 19 by the Rockets, 20 by the Warriors. This is a game on paper. It looks like the Rockets won.
Yeah, but they shot 60% from the free throw line. They sold the game at the free throw line.
That is the key.
They were the worst free throw shooting team in the regular season. Out of the 16 playoff teams, they're the worst free throw shooting team.
That is the key.
There you go. I'm looking here to see. So the Rockets shot 54% in the first half. That's okay. And again, because they were playing their type of basketball. Let me see if I can find what they shot in the second half. They shot 45% in the second half, but, and here's my point, because they can't shoot, they shot 4-12 from three. The Rockets did in the second half. 9 of 15 from the free throw line. There's your basketball game. They can't shoot. They're not the skilled team. First half, it was the type of game that they wanted played on the floor, and they wanted played in the minds of the players on the court.
Yep.
I would love to hear what was said. I know we'll never truly know what was said, but I would love to hear and know what was said amongst the Warriors in the locker room at halftime, because to me, that's where the adjustment was made, and that's where the game was won. Let's stop letting these dudes bait us into nonsense. And the Rockets are on the other side of the arena going, okay, all we got to do is one more half of rebounding, defense, and also getting in these dudes' heads. But removing Draymond from the festivities kind of removed the guy who is susceptible to what the Rockets want to do in terms of making the game a physical affair.
It also, though, made life so easy to score. I mean, that's when Şengün erupted. When Draymond came out, all of a sudden, this dude could not be stopped.
Yeah.
And that's Draymond.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. You've legitimately got only one guy on the team who has any chance in the world at playing defense in the post, and it's that guy. It's your 6'5" power forward, and God bless him. The dude went out there and did it. And I also feel like Şengün has a little bit of Draymond in his head too.
I would say that that's fair. I'd say that
he just didn't seem as aggressive when Draymond was out there as when everybody else was. He
leaving those shots short at the rim. Şengün does when Draymond is guarding him for sure.
Yep, and I'm not taking anything away from Draymond because and this dude has a sizable, no pun intended, advantage on Draymond. He's a very skilled guy in the paint, and for whatever reason, maybe it's just something Draymond has figured out. I can only let him get thus far into the paint, and it's going to come up short because every time Draymond guards him, when that shot misses, it's literally right there in front of the hoop, literally off the front of the hoop.
And what he's not doing, Şengün, what he's not capable of doing, it seems, is that he's not capable of really rooting Draymond out of that position and just jugging it on him. You know, it's always got to be, I'm going to give him a little bit of body, and then it's not necessarily a true fadeaway, but it's not going to the basket. You know, so what Draymond is lacking in pure height, he makes up for, and I'm just not going to give up this position in the lane to give you an easier shot. You are going to have to get your balance coming off of me and getting the shot towards the rim, which ain't easy.
Yeah, you go and apparently Draymond. This is just stuff I've heard. Apparently he's a strong core dude, like super strong core. So it's hard to move him off that. He's not tall, but he's 250 or something like that. So he's got a strong core. So it's a weird thing if you're a big and you have this little guy who weighs as much as you in many cases. And you know what? 7-footers aren't as big as they used to be.
Dom asks, how does Houston adjust their offense for game 5? Felt like there was their peak offense. What else do they have up there? Their adjustment is one of their best players. Some people would say their best player, Jalen Green, has to play better.
That's what it is.
That's because, listen, that was the adjustment from game 1 to game 2.
Yep.
Game 1, Jalen Green stuck up the joint. Game 2, Jalen Green had 30 points, 30-plus points. Okay?
Yeah.
That's the adjustment. Because, again, what the Rockets do and what they do better than the Warriors is not going to change. They are going to out-rebound the Warriors. They are going to be as good of a defensive team as the Warriors are. They are going to defend as good or better than the Warriors. They are probably going to win the turnover battle. They're definitely going to win the points in the paint battle. The Warriors ain't going to get no bigger. The Rockets ain't going to get no smaller. The problem is the Rockets are not going to magically become a better shooting team. You know, the job that Fred VanVleet did tonight, those 25 points, credit to Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
But Jalen Green should have scored them 25 points.
Hey, it's real.
Fred VanVleet should have had a nice 16, 17, you know, with 7, 8, 9 assists. He had 6 assists tonight, 2 turnovers. I mean, Fred VanVleet had a hell of a game tonight. But those 25 points in those 40 minutes, that should have been Jalen Green's 25 points in 40 minutes. 24 and change, almost 25. So the adjustment, Jalen Green's got to play better.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's kind of what it is. He has to be the guy that they expect him to be. And I don't know if it's certainly going to happen because typically people don't turn into that in the postseason unless you're Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, but I mean, Jimmy Butler's been doing it in the playoffs. No, man, that was an impressive display by Jimmy Butler. I know he's been doing it for the balance of his career, but as I said earlier, you could clearly see that Butler was compromised, was not moving well, and just didn't have lift. But as the game went on, and knowing that he needed to eventually put on the cape and be a superhero, because tonight he wasn't Robin. Tonight, Jimmy Butler in the second half, he was Batman. All right, Steph was Robin because of the way the Warriors were playing him. Well, I guess Steph wasn't even Robin tonight. Jimmy Butler was Batman. All right, if we're doing this, Jimmy Butler was Batman, Podziemski was Robin, Steph Steph was out for tonight.
Yeah, he was
Not because of a skill issue. It's because how the Rockets are playing it. But if we're staying with the Batman, who is who? Yeah, that's your Batman and Robin tonight.
I see Dom is saying Jalen Green for sure seemed like Draymond got all up in his head. What do you think about that?
I think Jalen Green's in Jalen Green's head. Mm-hmm. I think the playoffs are in Jalen Green's head. I think that Jalen Green, who doesn't have a reliable outside shot, he did shoot well in game 2, but it's not reliable. I think Draymond's in his head, but I think more to the point, the moment is in his head. The playoffs are in his head. And he's a young player who doesn't know how to get out of the box that the Warriors have placed him in and that he's placed himself in. Because where does he go?
Yeah.
What does he do? Like, he doesn't get easy buckets.
No.
Like, I think about Steph. I forget what game it was. Maybe it was the Memphis play-in game where Memphis wasn't giving him anything from the outside. So then he went to the basket. Had about 4 or 5, and Steph's, float game and game around the basket is beautiful. Had 4 or 5 of those. Then he started doing it from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I'm using one of the greatest players of all time as an example, and maybe that's unfair to Jalen Green, but when it's not working for you, go to the basket, get some contact. I would say go to the free throw line and see the ball go through the hoop, but the Rockets can't shoot free throws as a crew, as a unit. So I think one of the greatest defenders of all time being there is a problem for him. But think about game 3, Quentin Post. I think, he guarded Jalen Green. Quentin Post. Quentin Post had the size, but there's no way that
he should be killing Post.
Thank you.
He should be killed.
Yeah. So I think the magnitude, the enormity of this playoff moment, his first playoffs for Jalen Green, that's the bigger issue for him.
Yeah, you know what? Not everybody's made for this like that. Not everybody's made for this, and he just may not be that guy. And there's nothing wrong with not being that guy. Somebody else can be.
Not yet.
Somebody else. Can be. Honestly, Sengun is more consistent than any other offensive player they have.
Yeah, but he's the one that's getting the easier matchups just because of the position he plays. They don't the Warriors, with the exception of Draymond when he's out there, but even still, then that's a tough cover for Draymond.
He doesn't seem to have a fear of the moment.
Sengun?
Yeah, he just
no, not compared to what Jalen Green is dealing with.
No. And it's and that's the thing with these, even great players, you never know how they're going to react when the big lights come on. It is not the same as playing in the tournament and getting to the Sweet 16. These are some high stakes games when you get to this level, and not everybody is made for that moment. And you can always tell, and you can tell pretty quickly. I think Pods is kind of made for this. I think he kind of gets off on it.
Yeah.
I really feel that way. And he was kind of branded as an arrogant player last year, but I always feel like it's good. You should have confidence, because if you don't, you're not going to be in the league very long.
Well, and you're 100% right about that. But what gives him that confidence, Brandon Podziemski, is that he's got Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the coach, Steve Kerr's confidence.
And
like they like, you go out there and do what you need to do. Like I said earlier, if Steph is being hounded, you're going to get shots. Yep. We trust that you're going to take those shots and you're going to make those shots. Because there's the thing. There's a lot of dudes who won't take those shots.
Amen.
Who want nothing to do with
that. Amen. You are not lying. I've heard stories about guys going, I don't want to be the guy to take this shot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move it along.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to be able to be able to accept the fact that this may not go in. I may make a major mistake. When you see guys like Steph Curry turning the ball over all the time and still go back and still have the balls to make the same goofy pass every time, that is irrational
He's
self-confidence.
been doing it for 15 years. He's been
And it
making that
won't stop.
same dopey cross-court pass for 15 years.
And it
Maybe
won't
not
stop.
as much over this year, but he's been doing that for a long, long time.
He leads the team in turnovers every single year.
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to say
Nothing.
about it?
I'm gonna keep giving him
Absolutely
the
nothing.
ball.
That's all right, champ. You get him next time.
No. What about that? That's fine, Steph. We all make mistakes.
It drives Steve Kerr crazy. But again, what are you going to do about it? Take him out and yell at him? No. Were you satisfied with the number of people who wore their free ill-fitting T-shirts at the game tonight?
I don't know if you can believe this, did not pay a lick of attention to it.
But I told you it was a thing, right? I told you that people were genuinely are genuinely upset that
People
folks
care.
are not wearing the free T-shirt at the game, to the point where the team has leaned into it, or at least their social media accounts. And I saw some footage of the Jumbotron at Chase, where they would show people in the crowd who weren't wearing the shirts, and then they would put them on the Jumbotron.
That's
And
funny.
there would just be a graphic under it that said, "Put on the shirt." So
That's funny.
I told you it's a thing.
That's pretty slick. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. And that means that's a very self-aware basketball team. And lean into it, have some fun with it. At least they're having fun with it and not going like I don't know how people, well, sports fans in general do things I don't particularly understand. I don't know how you get so exercised over somebody wearing a damn T-shirt.
Or not wearing the T-shirt.
I'm not there, and I'm not caught up in the fervor, so maybe I would feel differently if I was there. I doubt it, but maybe.
As we wrap this up, this Warriors postgame edition of Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends, let's take a moment to enjoy the Warriors being up 3-1 and the Los Angeles Lakers being down 3-1 in their series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Everyone, let's have a big hearty laugh on 3. 1, 2, 3. It's great.
I hate to be this person, but I predicted all this.
I synced it.
All of this. And the second they made that trade for Luka, I'm like, this ain't gonna work.
Not the way they thought it was.
This ain't gonna work.
And it is working the way that you and a lot of other people. Hey, man, it's a couple of things, and I referenced it earlier. JJ Redick, who always fancies himself as the smartest guy in the room, did a very dumb thing yesterday, playing LeBron and Luka 46 out of 48-minute regulation basketball game, and both of those guys looked every bit of being played 46 minutes of a 48-minute basketball game. And Luka Doncic, listen, it was a bad trade, okay? And it was a bad trade for the Mavericks from a standpoint of they only got Anthony Davis. They didn't get more. They should have gotten more. But Luka, the book on Luka is that he's a traffic cone defensively. And
everybody knows it.
Everybody knows it. And multiple things can be equally true. He's a traffic cone defensively. He's a very good offensive player, but he can be ball dominant. He could slow your offense down. But listen, if somebody's going to give you Luka Doncic, then you take him. But you take him with risks. We could talk about, is he the right weight? Does he take care of himself? Who knows? I don't know. Nobody know. But what we all know is what we see. And what we see from Luka defensively is a dude who gets hunted. And then when he is tired, or whether he's tired mentally or tired physically from being hunted, he completely checks out defensively. And to watch that happen in real time, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's what's that saying? Fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's already brutal as a defensive player. Yeah, I look. You're gonna take out your best big man option, defensive stopper. Legitimately gives you a chance in every single series to bring in a guy who essentially does most of the things that LeBron does, except they're worthless. It's always like empty calories with Luka. You're gonna get a bunch of points, you might get a bunch of assists, but it's not gonna mean anything for some reason. I can't put my finger on it, Rob, but there are just some players who simply don't affect winning that way, and he's one of those guys. And he's too young to be getting fatigued. Like he's not even 30 years old. What is he?
46 minutes is 46 minutes, so that's
sure
a lot.
Is, but
that's a lot.
Steph Curry can do it. He's done it. Jimmy Butler just played the other night. I mean, this 35-year-old Jimmy Butler.
46 minutes is a lot, dog.
Didn't Jimmy just play 48 minutes the other night?
40. I mean, you could be right. I don't know. 46 minutes.
Steph did too. Steph played close to 40 minutes. Like, I'm sorry, man. I don't have a lot of sympathy for a guy.
Oh, no. I have sympathy. I am absolutely just, I mean, like my chest is all tingly just thinking about the situation that the Lakers are in right now because 3-1.
He had that beer yanked out of his hand.
Yeah. Michael Finley took that Coors Light out of his hand. Yeah. Gabriel, we'll wrap it up here, but the chat, and again, thanks to all the folks in the chat. We love it when you get active. Whether it's throwing questions at us or you folks talking amongst yourselves, we absolutely love it. Outcast is named as one of the soon-to-be new enshrinees in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, along with Soundgarden, one of my favorite bands. Just wish Chris Cornell was around to receive the honor and perform live. Who else is getting in there? Now I'm drawing a blank. Bad Company. Cyndi Lauper, thank you very much. There's a couple. I'll see if I can find them on my phone here. But the Mighty Outcast is one of the big names. And Gabriel asking, what is your favorite Outcast album and your top 5 Outcast songs? Favorite Outcast album? AT Aliens, baby.
Oh.
Listen, they're all good.
Oh, boy.
AT Aliens, man.
Yeah.
AT Aliens. Top 5 songs. Elevators.
Elevators is amazing. That's amazing records.
Bombs Over Baghdad.
Bombs Over Baghdad, we don't appreciate.
Oh, I mean, if you don't, there's something wrong. Come on now.
We do not appreciate that song. Like we did in the moment, but when people talk about Outkast, it's not one of the songs that people really bring up very often.
Really?
Yeah, they bring up like Players Ball and bring up I don't know Bombs Over Baghdad.
Man.
Hey Ya, they bring up that stuff, but I'm like,
I got to say, if I never hear Hey Ya again, it'll be too soon. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Hey Ya hasn't come on, and when I had a measurable blood alcohol level that I didn't shake it like a Polaroid picture. Of course, I did.
When it first came out, like, oh, this is kind of cool, but then they played it to death.
They did play it to death. They did play it to death.
Sick of hearing it. And
Two Dope Boys in a Cadillac off of So Fresh and So Clean. Yeah, man. Yeah. The art of storytelling. I had to cheat and look at my phone. Sorry, I couldn't do it off the dome piece. Yeah, man. Yeah, but The Way You Move, I think is a great song.
That is an amazing song. Big Boy doesn't get enough credit.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I think, to me, Andre 3000, Three Stacks I think he's easily one of the top 10 greatest rappers of all time. He will have some features and some verses that you just have to go back and listen to him, several times. And Big Boy, I'm just a huge fan of Big Boy. So yeah, Outkast, man, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Marcus, we have lived long enough to see hip hop get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and nobody bats an eye. That is absolutely awesome.
I love seeing it. I love seeing deserving hip hop artists get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Very much so. There's somebody else too. I mean, if you just give me a second to vamp here, because I had a list of who's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Outkast. Mariah Carey did not make it.
Yes.
Who else did I hear today?
No, I'm failing miserably.
There was another band.
I don't know. We'll do it on the next show.
Yeah, that's gonna drive me crazy.
All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this post-game edition of Quality Hank. We're going to do it again on Wednesday. Won't be quite as late, thank God, as
White
tip-off.
Stripes.
White Stripes. Yes, that's right. Thank you very much. Yes, White Stripes.
Stripes.
I think deserving as well. Can't count myself as a huge fan, but the White Stripes, man, for a moment, the White Stripes were big. So
they were a moment.
Yeah. It's that's a good honor for them. We will do this again on Wednesday. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anyway, these past couple 3 shows have just coincided with Warrior games, so we thought we'd do a post game, and I think we did the damn thing, Marcus.
Yes,
all right.
Yes,
Thanks to everybody in the chat. We will see you on Wednesday, and be good and be good at it. We will see you.